Hello and welcome to the Connection Compass podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Louise Evans. On today's podcast, I'm joined by someone whose journey into creativity, honesty, and self-expression is as compelling as the stories he writes. Roger Wilson Crane rediscovered his passion for writing later in life, a spark that first appeared when he wrote and directed a school play at just 14 years old. But truly reignited in 2020 when, encouraged by his wife Victoria, finally gave himself permission to become the creative he'd always wanted to be. That decision led to his debut novel, Certified, published in 2021. The book not only became an Amazon bestseller, but it also went on to win multiple awards, including the prestigious 2021 International SIBA Mark Twain Grand Prize for Humour and Satire, and a bronze medal in 2022 for the Reader's Favourite International Book Awards. It's a conversation that is filled with honesty, heart, resilience, and the courage it takes to tell the truth. I'm so excited to share this with you, so get comfy and listen in. Hello, welcome Roger to the Connection Compass podcast. It's lovely that you're here. I'm really excited to talk to you today. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself for our listeners?
I can, and thank you for having me. It's lovely to be here. Yes, I'm Roger Wilson Crane. I'm the award-winning author of a comedy drama book called Certified. Myself, I live in the lovely market town of Ormskirk in Lancashire. I was born down south, moved to Yorkshire Dales, and now I'm in Lancashire, so I'm not quite sure what I've ended up being, to be fair. Been in sales, customer service all my life, and 30 years in the motor trade as a sort of successful MD of a private company. Yeah, so that's sort of me. I'm married to Victoria. I've got a 24-year-old daughter called Holly and a brand new puppy that's only just joined us. So a bit busy.
And so I'm partway through Certified, so I'm right near the end, and it's an interesting book with lots of humour, comedy. What led you to writing it?
Well, it's like everybody. Everybody always says they want to write a book, but of course, life gets in the way all the time. Work was most of my focus. When the pandemic hit, I already made a decision before then to take a step back from being a managing director. I was still going to stay on as a consultant, but that was part-time. But then the pandemic hit, and I had absolutely nothing to do. And the summer was lovely in a way. I know it wasn't for a lot of people, but it was for me because I was still at home. I had a big garden, so that was fine. But as it got on to autumn, I really had nothing to do, and it was my wife Victoria who saw this sort of advert on Facebook. Write that book group class, which was being run by a very esteemed coach called Michael Heppel, who's coached people like Sarah Cox, Davina McCall, and he was setting up this group of how to write a book. And my wife said, join. And I went, I'm not doing that. I'm not going into it. Because I'm quite a private person, which is right strange, really. But so I didn't want to be out there in a group. But anyway, to be fair, she persuaded me. And the first lesson, if you like, was just about what do you want to write about and getting a title type of thing. And within that first lesson, I was off and running of, I'm going to do this. Oh, I love this. So that was where the sort of concept of Certified came from. And I'd always wanted to write about my father's death. We were estranged for many, many, many years. And when we didn't really get back in touch, but when he died, it was his funeral was very bizarre. It was very funny moments. I know it shouldn't be, but there's sort of comedy in anything.
Yes,
And I wanted to write about that, but I thought, well, that can't make a book. But then my daughter Holly was quite a surprise for me. I didn't think I was going to have children, so she came along. So then I thought, well, I've got a bizarre death and I've got an unexpected birth, and then the middle bit, I've been to many weddings myself, and with many things that can happen. So the concept very quickly became a sort of three based on the certificate. So it was one unexpected birth, a hapless wedding, and then a bizarre death. And that's where it all came from. And all based on true life.
Yes, yeah. And that's a really interesting element. and you've already shared about it really, but if we just go a little bit deeper into that,
Yeah.
what elements did you really want to share with the readers and why?
Ooh, I didn't particularly want to share anything personal, although it was a personal story, if you like, but I did embellish a lot. So every chapter in the book, there is an element of truth. Some chapters are completely true. Some other chapters are, it's a starting point, and my mind has raced away with creativity, if you like. But I mean, I'm not a great book reader, but I'm a great script reader, and I adore people like Sally Wainwright, who wrote Happy Valley, and I've forgotten the one with Halifax. But the comedy dramas that she writes, so that there's a lot of comedy so people can laugh, but then you can flick a switch if you like, and take them straight away into very sad, emotional. And that was always in my head of as I was writing it, because I knew there would be lots of funny things to hopefully make people laugh out loud, but I always wanted it to be deep and people to also get an emotional side, especially around birth, around death. And there's lots of things. So in a way, it was really basing it, I suppose, on a very good comedy drama that you might watch on television, if that makes sense.
So, having gone through the book, I'm quite into nuance. I can really notice little changes and I can notice different energies like through the book. It kind of goes quite dark and quite deep and then it goes up and lighter and then you go back down and you feel like a depth. Do you think that was what you were trying to capture?
Yeah, I think in a way, but I was also probably thinking as I went down a dark route when you're writing it, and then you're editing it, you're rereading, and you're probably thinking, "Have I gone too dark? I need to get out of this quickly. I need to get the reader out quite quickly," because I wanted them not to be too like, "Oh, blimey, this is so sad."
Yeah.
So it's a quick switch, if you like, to try and go right. Let's park that and come back out quickly, quickly, quickly. Yeah, so I think that's probably why it is a bit like that because of me
Yeah.
making that decision of not wallowing too much in my own self pity.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it has like a nice element to it. You kind of feel
Thank
like you're
you.
following on it. You're like following this journey, of
Mm,
the life's ups and downs, which
mm,
we always get, and they're
yeah,
always scattered with humor. It doesn't matter how dark it kind of gets.
it is a bit.
So I think so. Some of it is true, and
Yeah.
some of it isn't. But
Mm,
it does feel like a personal story. And so the bits that are true, did you
mm.
have any anxiousness about writing about that? Or was your thoughts and your desire to tell that part of the story stronger?
Yeah, I didn't have any anxiousness about it, to be fair. I was quite happy to write, and I think I've done a bit of it's a bit strange one, but I've done a bit of amateur dramatics as well. So I've played like through like Fat Dave and the Full Monty and things like that. And I think I probably wrote it as a character as well, so it didn't
Yeah.
worry me too much. I sort of stepped away, even though it was about me, but also I could make it a character. So it didn't worry me that I was writing some very personal stuff. I think the only thing that I wondered a little bit was what my family might think, my mum's sisters, or because I've got two brothers and a sister, and the book only has a one brother and a sister. So my other brother wasn't particularly happy that he'd been airbrushed out of history, but that was literally because I couldn't fit too many characters into it. Otherwise, it would have, for me anyway, would have been too wide. If that makes sense. So I had a bit of that, but otherwise, no. Everything I wanted to write, I wrote, and also I think because then people then do ask you, "But is that absolutely true?" And I say, I can't say. So it sort of covers yourself a little bit as well of
Yeah.
in certain areas of the book. Anyway, put it that
And
way.
that really element of that really fascinated me about that decision that you kept to yourself not to reveal which parts were
Mm,
true and which parts weren't.
mm.
Um, and what was the decision making around that?
What of not
Yeah,
by accident, really. I think people just started to ask me when the book was published, and I did a couple of podcasts, and people just asked me, and I just set off with, I can't say, I can't tell you, and
oh,
in a way, that's how it's kept ever since. So it wasn't by any great design, but I also think in a way it would have spoilt it away, because if I'd say, well, that is completely true, but that bit isn't, it would take away, for me, it would be the sort of magic of, did all those things really happen to this man? You
Mm.
know? So I think it's a sort of element of mystery and magic, I hope,
Yeah.
when you read it. But as I say, every single chapter is based on truth. Every
Mhm.
single one. It's just one or two of them are absolutely true from start to finish, and one or two have been, a few have been embellished as my
Yeah.
imagination ran away with me. And for
Yeah.
instance, is the Justin Timberlake story
And
true? I can't say. I can't say. There's an element of truth in it.
so part of the story refers to 18-year-old, the younger you,
Mm,
down in London, or
yes.
and
Mm.
I read that bit, and I think you that part of the story felt really harsh on that 18-year-old boy. There was like
Me?
yeah,
Yes.
there was like, uh, the really high expectation for someone so young navigating a really
Mm.
difficult time.
I think there's sort of, when you're writing it and also thinking back, there's a lot of regret, I think. And
Mm.
so, and also, I always felt really, I mean, I loved the Yorkshire Dales. I mean, that's where I lived for sort of 30 years, and in a lovely town called Settle. And I loved it. But when you got out of there, when I went to London, where my girlfriend at the time was, you just wanted to be part of that as well, but you didn't want to lose what you'd got. I think I was harsh on myself, because really I wanted to get out, but I was too young to get out. I did
Yeah.
in the end, because there isn't really much going on in a little town like that. It is beautiful, but as an 18-year-old, you either
Mm.
work in a local hotel or bakery, or the local creamery. So, yeah, I suppose I was harsh on myself, because I felt maybe that I could have been out sooner if I made
Yeah.
different choices. Yeah,
Yeah. I was like, "Oh."
I know. Yeah, I know. But it's also that sort of that naivety in a way. And not being able to talk to anybody. I always had a problem with that,
Yeah.
of opening up and, you know, sitting down with your friends. I mean, my best friend in the book is Big Mac, and it was based on a a very good friend of mine over the years. But you can't even tell, as a bloke, you couldn't tell what's going on in a way.
Yeah.
You're all big men, and stiff upper lip. It's better now, and I'm better, but
Yeah.
it took a long time. Yeah, it
Yeah,
took.
it does, and, it probably at the time when you were 18, the world was very different. The world was very different. You didn't really open up. You didn't really talk about
Yeah,
things, you
yeah.
know,
Early
uh
'80s for me, that was, yeah, when I was 18, yeah. But the absolute, I just say that the true point of that, of the girlfriend in, if anybody reads the book, that but Pete, she did look identity like Peter Beardsley, the footballer, which which which, which was great. Everybody says, "Oh, but that's horrible." No, it wasn't though. That's the point. He was
Yeah,
my idol. He was. Uh,
and just turning a corner a little bit now, there are some darker elements in the
mm,
book, and you do talk about, the story about being in an abusive relationship, and it made me think a lot about how do you move on from something like that without the fear of it happening again?
um, I think, I don't know, to be honest, for myself, because it's quite, it's a lot rarer from a female onto a male. So I I never really crossed my mind that it would happen again. I just felt I was unlucky, really. I think if you flip that from a female to a male abusive, because it's more common from male to female, that I could understand. But for me personally, it honestly never crossed my mind. I just thought I was,
Mm,
very unlucky, and it was a strange thing that happened. But I never thought it would happen again. That's probably an odd answer, really, Andrea. I think. Yeah,
and that is incredible strength.
yeah,
I never
yeah.
thought what I thought about it really, but I like how you're thinking about it, that it's so rare that you didn't think it would happen again.
That's the only thing I can think of, because it didn't.
Mm,
I might have had gone to the next relation. It didn't cross my mind at all,
mhm,
which is either very, very naive, or but probably, like I said, for me, probably because it is just like so out of the box that
mm.
that can't that won't happen again. I mean, it's just one of those things. But
Yeah.
it's the only way I can explain it, really. To be fair.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's interesting to hear because we don't, like you said, it is rarer, although it doesn't happen, but we don't often hear those stories
There is that.
from
Yeah,
men at all. So it's interesting to gather some thoughts around that and your
yeah.
feelings.
And I'd never talked about it. I talked to my wife about it, but I'd never talked generally about it. And but aside, I don't know why. I really wanted to put it in the book, and there's probably a couple of reasons for that. One, I wanted to share it because it actually felt that that was unburdening to the world, even though only a couple of thousand people might actually find out in the end when they read it. It's not going to be a Richard Osman bestseller. But also, I also, this is really selfish and horrible, is that it lent itself well to the whole overall arching story
Mm,
of life, and going through the ups and downs, and how it can, how it can affect, how
mm.
it affects me in a way. So I did want to include that.
I thought it was a really important element. I thought it was brave. And again, this podcast is about seeing beyond the surface and
Mm,
hearing those stories. And it just proves that when we're out and about and you're walking around, you never know what people are experiencing, and
mm.
it's to bring that to the fore.
Yeah, I agree with that. You're quite right. You can be walking straight, or in a pub, in a bar. It doesn't matter. You've no idea what's going on in behind people's, and also in their heads. There's grief. You can be upset, happy. You just no idea, have you?
So you have won the Mark Twain Award for Humour and
Mm.
Satire in 2021, which is
Yes,
really exciting. Can
yes,
you tell us about that story? Because it's
yeah.
quite an interesting one, isn't it? It's
But it was all very surreal. So, because when I wrote the book, I was happy. I loved it, and then published it in I think it was the summer of 2020, August. And I'd spent time building up a tribe, because that's what Michael Heppel would teach you, to build a tribe, so you're ready to sell your book. And then so that was great, because I had about 350 people who bought, a signed copy, and so I sent that out, and then it went on to Amazon, and I did a bit of marketing with that. Very, very briefly, it became an Amazon bestseller for about 20 minutes, but I managed to get a
it's am
screenshot. You know what I mean?
no, that's amazing.
For in the humour section. But then, yeah, so I just thought, well, I'll enter a couple of competitions, because I thought, if I can become a finalist or something, then I can use that as a marketing tool, for the trial and Facebooks and everything else. And so that's what I did. And I did the Chandelier Awards, which is a wide thing. It is well recognised, and so of course, I entered it in the humour satire. Anyway, I became a finalist. I thought, oh, great, which was about 50 of you in that category. And I thought, oh, that's great. So I used that as marketing and said, I'm a finalist. And then a couple of months later, it then announces that you're a semi-finalist. So I thought, well, my word, this is great. So I was down to 25, tried to 25 of us. So I used again that for a bit of marketing. Never in my wildest dreams this is going any further. And then a couple of months later, it was again to sort of March time, I think February. Then I was announced, certified, was a finalist. And that was down to 10. So I thought, wow. And then you're thinking, oh, that's brilliant. Other people recognising the work, if you like, and enjoying it as what I wanted it to be. So, yeah, so there was a finalist. And then you could go out to Washington for the award ceremony. And I did actually look into flights. I thought, and it's like about 3 grand to stay and come back, and all that sort of thing. And I'm thinking, well, blimey, I have to sell 3,000 copies just because you only get about £1 for every book you sell. So I thought I can't do that, but you can join on Zoom. So anyway, I signed up for that. I thought, okay, that's fine. So on the evening of the awards, I'm sort of there on Zoom and watching it in the hotel, and then they announced the 10 finalists for the Mark Twain Award. It goes down to 3, and certified is read out, and there's 3 left. And I'm just and this is like 4 o'clock in the morning because it's in Washington. My wife is sat next to me. I'm like, this is bizarre. This is surreal. And we just sat there. And I said to Victoria, my wife, said, right, so let's go to bed now then. Because I said, it's not going to get any better than this. We've got all the screenshots and, I'm in the top 3, absolutely. She said, no, we may as well, because it wasn't going to be announced for another hour. And she said, no, we may as well. We've come this far. We've been sat here for. So we waited another hour, and then they announced that the winner of the Mark Twain Award for 2021 was Roger Wilson Crane and certified. And I was just sat in a sort of pajamas totally. And then I heard them say, is he here? Someone said, no, but he's on Zoom. And they said, why? We need to interview him and say hello. And, I'm just like, sat, and suddenly you're live to these sort of 500 people in this giant hotel, and they're asking you about it. And honestly, I was just in a state of shock, I think. It was just amazing. And I never ever dreamt when I wrote the book that it would win an award and also with a name behind it, the Mark Twain Award, which I'm a great fan of his and his musings and his sayings. And it was just, I don't know, but it was such a surreal experience. And yeah, so and after that, you use it for marketing. But after that, it was like, I think I've done. I can't go any better than this. I'm, I'm never going to win the Booker Award for a comedy drama.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But to win something that was in the industry, it was just very emotional because I'd always wanted to write a book first. Then I'd wanted to write about my dad. So I sort of had to raise a little glass to him and thank him finally for doing something that did something good for me.
When you first went to those writing classes and you decided that, how did you find like the whole publishing process?
I mean, the book was self-published, and to be fair, how Michael Heppel works, how it started was, first of all, come up with a title for your book. That was one lesson, and then you have to write a paragraph. Write a paragraph, share it with everybody. And so there was all that sort of thing. And then in the end, to go further down, then he talks to you about publishing and the different routes. And of course, the main route is if you get picked up by a publisher, but that is really, really, really difficult, especially if you haven't got anything in the past. They also look at your sort of social media footprint, etc., etc. So there's very different ways of self-publishing. There are some what they call hybrid self-publishers, which is they do everything for you. So they typeset it for you, they check it for you, they put it onto Amazon for you, and they do all the actual book for you. You can do it yourself from start to finish, where you put it onto Amazon yourself and you can typeset it yourself. I made the decision I wanted it to look as much as possible as a book that you would find in Waterstones. I mean, it would be lovely to do a hard book, but that was too expensive. But to do it as a paperback that you could believe, you think that what that is just proper. Whereas sometimes if you do it, you're really on your own. The typeset, the design, the quality isn't quite there. So I went with a company called New Generation, but I'd done my homework. Some of them were charging thousands. You don't get what you want. I didn't really look into it very closely, and I went with them in the end after lots of meetings. As in, I felt comfortable that, and it was It was £400, and they did everything. They did absolutely everything.
Wow.
So, and so they put it, like I say, put it on Amazon. They put it on Waterstones online store for you, and Barnes and Nobles and all that. They do everything for you. So it was really not cheap, but cheap where it felt as though I'd got a good quality book. So and that's the way I went in the end, and I've never regretted it. They've been very good. They've been marketing for you. So yeah, it is a minefield, and for anybody who goes down that route and wants to self-publish, just be very, very careful. Do your homework, ask around, look at reviews, and all that sort of thing, because you can get not scammed but you can pay a lot of money for little return, if you like. So you want to find and they were very good, to be fair. Yeah, I
Yeah,
recommend them to a couple of other people.
that's really good. That's really good advice.
Yeah.
And so I know you said it can't get better than this. I'm done. Is that true? Or
Well,
is there another
but
book somewhere coming along?
well, you sort of get to a level as well with the book, so you can market it as much as possible. And I've done okay, and it's still selling. But unless you drop a bit lucky, it's not really going to go any further. I suppose my point was that it was way above anything I ever dreamed of when I wrote the book, was to win a prestigious award like the Mark Twain Award. So for that book, if you like, that's done, and I can't find anywhere else to place it. All my marketing fizzled out because I'd gone as far as I could. I did some talks with the WI. I did one in Yorkshire because that's where it was based. They invited me to do a talk on the process of writing the book to their annual dinner, which was great. So I did a couple of things like that. But yeah, so from that point of view, I was thinking, well, but for going forward, well, I mean, there's a couple of things. I am still doing it in between working, which is I desperately want to see certified as a comedy drama, possibly on the BBC on a Sunday night at 9 o'clock, a 6 part. So I am writing the script for that. I have been for a couple of years on and off.
Yeah.
It's difficult. So if anybody out there knows any good script editors who would like to help, and any producers, to be fair. But yeah, so that's one thing that is my next dream, would be to see it transformed into a comedy drama that I think, and this is a bit, I suppose, being a bit not big headed. I don't know the word. I do think it would make a great television drama, but I'm writing it, but I don't have the skill set or all the contacts out there to bring it to life. So I'm doing that. I also started writing a second book on in a similar way of writing, because it seems to be the only best way that I feel I can write, which is in the first person. And I started it. I've done about 20,000 words at the moment, and it's based on I've had dogs all my life, ever since I was a young boy, and then I've had a certain breed, a flat coat retriever breed, since the early '90s, and I'm on my fifth. And I had this lovely idea of similar to Certified, where a man goes through his life with these different dogs,
Oh,
through,
yeah.
through marriage, through ups and downs. Title is A Life Retrieved. So I've got that. I have a cover, and I've started to write it. I've come to a bit of a block on it, so I need to just come out of that and go again. I didn't. It didn't come as easy
Mhm.
as Certified. Certified just kept rolling and rolling and rolling.
Yeah.
Um, I suppose it's a bit like a second album syndrome, Andrew, isn't it? Where,
Yeah.
I mean, Oasis's first album is probably the best they made, and everything else after that has been okay, but
Yeah.
sort of similar to that.
I think that's really interesting, about our life retrieved and thinking about our pets that we've had, because that's the thing about when they die, it's everything that you went through them, everything that you went through life with
Yeah,
them up until that point, isn't it? That
yeah,
they've been along the way, those downs of life that we get.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, it's heartbreaking. It's more emotionally draining than a human dying. That sounds awful, but you know,
mm,
just from a closeness, that bond of 10, 12 years. I mean, in the book, in Certified, there is a section on kidnapping him to get him back.
yeah,
To
I'm
get
not
him
gonna
back.
ask you if that was true, but because I know what your answer will be, but
Yeah, yeah. More true than you think.
Yes.
Put it that way. And then, of course, when he is passing, which is in the section of a bizarre death. And again, the section of bizarre death, it was true because apart from my father dying, Bonnie dying in the book,
Yeah.
and I took it back to the Yorkshire Dales, which I did. And I know I said I won't say anything that's true, but there was the true farce element of him being led down a field in a JCB is and you're saying goodbye to him, and
Yeah.
he's bouncing around in a you're crying at the same time as you are laughing. So I am trying, or I have tried. I put it on the back burners, but it's a work in progress. I mean, the old cynic in me thinks, if you can finish it, everybody loves the dog book. You'd think even if it was rubbish, it would get sold, wouldn't you? That's what I'm doing. Yeah.
Yeah. I just have one more question, and you don't have to answer it, but what would you say to your 18-year-old self now?
Oh.
Having gone what you've gone through and, you've done this amazing thing, you wrote this amazing book, Humour and Satire, which was that in the plan?
No, I wrote when I was at secondary school. I wrote a school play which was done in assembly.
Yeah.
I wrote it and I was just starred in it. It was like a murder mystery thing, and we did it. It was like 20 minutes long, and we did it in front of the whole school. And I felt, that was brilliant, that, and it gave me such a buzz that I thought I would write more, if you like, but I didn't until 40 years later, which is so. In a way, to my 18-year-old self, I would have said maybe you should have stuck at it a bit. I mean, work. Life takes over, doesn't it, Andrew? I mean, you just work, so
Yeah.
you don't really think about it. I mean, people, good people do, because then they'll in their weekends and their evenings they'll write. And I never crossed my mind to do that. And
But I think you lose yourself a bit through life because I think it's about what we're taught. So we're not really taught that writers writers will pay the bills, and there's an
and it still doesn't.
expectation. No, and it still doesn't. But there's an expectation, isn't there, on getting a proper job, and this is what you do. You go
Mm,
to school, you go to college, go to university, or you get lost. I wrote a lot when I was a teenage, like between 12 and 15.
mm.
I wrote an awful lot, and then I just lost it, and then I lost it, and it never reared itself again until I gave up my job, sold my house, and went traveling around the world, and then I started writing
Uh,
again. But yeah, we do. I think we lose parts of ourselves in adulthood. It's very difficult to hold on to things
yeah,
that are not
yeah,
mainstream, that are not perhaps mainstream, maybe.
yes, yeah, you're right. I mean, but at the same time, looking back, for anybody that's younger, if that's your sort of dream, or that's what you want to do, you do need to make time for it.
Yeah.
Michael Apple came up with a wonderful. He called them 17-minute sprints.
Mhm.
He said, so you just sit, write, and you can write nonsense. 17 minutes, that's it.
Mm.
And then, later on that day or in the evening or the following day, just do another 17 minutes. That way, find that time, just those 17 minutes. And that was, I mean, I was lucky because I didn't have to do that. But a lot of people who were
Mm.
following on his class were working full time, so didn't have
Yeah.
the time like I had. I had all day to sit and write. Now I don't, because I'm sort of back working with the company that I was part of, and so I don't have that time now. But that's in my head. That 17 minutes, just so you keep going, or 500 words. Do 500 words. Come back to it the following day and edit it. Just write. Honestly, I wrote a lot of nonsense,
Mm.
but I would just write it because you're getting your thoughts down, and you come back the following day and go, "That is awful. That is literally." But there might be a sentence or just a paragraph in there that you go, "Oh, I like that." And so you take that out, and you're off and running again. So never be frightened to write absolute nonsense, because there is always something good in there that you can take and move on. So yeah, I suppose I would tell my. And the other thing, I suppose, uh, because I did a lot of amateur dramatics in the end, if you know, from the age of sort of 18, 20, on and off until I was late 40s. Maybe that filled a gap that I had about creativity or having that buzz, or which wasn't writing, but it was still in the arts, if you like. So maybe maybe that sort of took that away from me. So I didn't think about it too much because I was doing that and on
Yeah.
stage. And there's no bigger buzz than being on stage with a packed audience. It's just wonderful. yeah, maybe that stopped me from. But in the end, it was because I had time, I had nothing to do, and my wife made me join a write that book group. And
Um,
most days she just say, "You, you must thank me. You must thank me every day." 'Cause, and she's right. Without her, I would never have done it and won the awards and enjoy it so much. So yeah, thanks to her and Michael Heppel as well. To be fair.
oh, thank you, Roger. It's been a joy speaking to you, and I've
Oh,
really
thank you for having
enjoyed
me.
our chat. Thank you.
That's right. Well, thank you for having me too. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. Thank you.
That was a lovely conversation with Roger, filled with honesty, heart, and resilience. I highly recommend reading Roger's book, Certified. I really enjoyed it, and it really does take you on a journey of the life's highs and lows, with plenty of smiles and laughs in between. To find out more about Roger's work, please check the show notes. And thank you once again for listening to this week's episode of The Connection Compass. If you think it will help someone else, please leave a review. If you have any questions, please visit Andrea L. Evans' Facebook page. And remember to keep talking, keep connecting for a more interconnected world.